Okay, on this video, I'm going to show you how to factor another type of special case, and that's when something turns out to be a perfect square. So first we have to remember what it looked like when we multiplied something together, when we squared something. So if you have x plus 8 squared, remember that that means x plus 8 times x plus 8. So if you were to multiply it out, you would get x squared plus 8x, and then you'd have another 8x, and then you would have 64. Then when you go to combine these like terms, they don't cancel out like before, they combine to be 16x. So you have x squared plus 16x plus 64. Now that might not seem like it's all that unusual, but if you do a couple of those, you'll start to see a pattern. If you have x plus 5 squared, then that will equal x squared plus 5x plus 5x plus 25. So you end up with x squared plus 10x plus 25. We'll do one more. If you have x minus 3 times x minus 3, that's going to be x squared minus 3x minus another 3x plus 9. Notice I have a negative times a negative, so my last number is positive. So then I have x squared minus 6x plus 9. So this middle number here always ends up being twice as much as this number in your parentheses. I have some older students that will refer to this as square double square, because you square it, you double it, you square it. So what does that look like when you are factoring? Whoops, let's change that. So if you're told to factor something like x squared plus 18x plus 81, now you could still do this with the x method. You're still looking for two numbers that multiply to 81 and add to 18, but because that is 9 and 9, you can write it as x plus 9 squared. You can write it as x plus 9 times x plus 9. It means the same thing. So this is still factoring with the x method, but if you notice that it's this certain type, you can do it a little faster without even needing to write that out. So if I asked you to factor x squared minus 12x plus 36, then hopefully you'd recognize that 6 is half of 12, and it's also the square root of 36. So that your answer would be x minus 6 squared. If you have a number in, well, let me give you a couple practice ones first. So let's say you have x squared minus 8x plus 16 and x squared plus 2x plus 1. Go ahead and try to factor those. You can pause the video, try them, and then start the video up again. Okay, hopefully you came up with x minus 4 squared, which you can write as x minus 4 times x minus 4. Either way is fine. This one's a little tricky to think of. It's x plus 1 squared, because 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 2 is 2. So you could write it either way is fine. Okay, it's a little bit trickier when you have a number on your x. So if you have something like 3x plus 2 squared, that's going to end up being 9x squared plus 6x plus another 6x plus 4. So you end up with 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. It's still square double square. It follows the same rule. The rule is this. I had this on my board also when we first learned this. If you have a plus b squared, that's equal to a squared plus 2ab. So you multiply both of those together and then double it, and then plus b squared. So this is the rule that we're using. When we learn to multiply it, we were going this way. I gave you a plus b squared, and you told me it was a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Now we're factoring, so we're going this way. Okay, so this is when you factor this way is when you multiply. So if you have something like 4x squared plus, let's see if I can do this in my head, 36x plus 9, then that would factor into 2x plus 3 squared. It's very similar to the one that we just did, except I did it wrong. Sorry about that. I'm not going to delete and change my whole video. Let's say we have 4x squared plus 12x plus 9. So it's very similar to the example I used before, except this is 2x plus 3 squared, because the square root of 4x squared is 2x, the square root of 9 is 3, and then 2 times 3 is 6, so you'd have a 6x plus another 6x. That would give you your 12x. If you really want to see exactly how we would use the formula, if you're a formula person, then A is like your 2x, B is like your 3. And so this is your 2x squared plus 2x times 3 times 2 plus your b squared. And therefore we know it ends up being 2x plus 3 squared. So let's do another one. Let's say you have 25x squared, and let's say it ends with a 1, and so you would have a 10x in the middle. If you had that, then you could factor that into 5x plus 1 squared. So the square root of 25 is 5, the square root of 1 is 1, and 5 times 1 is 5, and if you double that, you get 10. So it's much trickier when your number out in front isn't a 1 on your x squared, but the rule still applies. Mostly, you'll have to factor things like x squared plus 20x plus 100, and that would factor into x plus 10 squared. So if you feel like you understand this, then you're in pretty good shape. Okay, that's how you factor a perfect square binomial.